Hi, everybody. Welcome to the launch of JinJin Xu's chapbook, There Is Still Singing in the Afterlife. What a great number of you. This is the most crowded Zoom room I've ever been a part of, and I couldn't be more delighted. My name is Meher, and I will be your host for today's evening. So you're going to hear a lot of my voice, so I apologize in advance. Can we just get a show, just like your favorite favorite little incantation, physical incantation in celebration of JinJin Xu's chapbook? Mine is like snaps. Hello. Whoop, whoop. Thank you for that spirited visual applause. So my name is Meher, and I'm a worker at Radix Media. We are the publishers behind JinJin Xu's debut chapbook. Radix Media is a worker-owned, completely unionized printer and independent publisher from Brooklyn, New York. We've been around for the last 10 years. We started out in Portland, Oregon, and then moved to Brooklyn, New York after the Occupy Wall Street movement. In the last many years, we have been a steady presence, and we provided printing support for grassroots movements, social justice organizations, sometimes pro bono. We entered the world of independent publishing 3 years ago, and this year we initiated the Own Voices Chapbook Prize, which was a very special project for all of us. We started that as a way to recognize, highlight, and publish emerging writers of color. For the very first iteration, we wanted to accept publications from emerging poets, and we wanted to publish chapbooks. We were very honored that Aria Aber, who's also here, who's one of the readers of this evening, agreed to come on as a guest judge for the very first iteration of the Own Voices Prize. We had a great many excellent submissions, and it took every little ounce of us to be able to parse through them and come up with a list of finalists from which Aria chose the 2 winning manuscripts. And JinJin Xu is one of them. And her manuscript, There Is Still Singing in the Afterlife, which is absolutely evocative, moving, curious, inspiring, transcendent. And we had the opportunity to work on the manuscript and make it into a tactile, tangible, beautiful book that Sarah, my co-worker, can show you later. Today's event is co-sponsored by the Asian Pacific American Institute at NYU. You can read a little more about Radix Media here. I'm providing the link in the chat window, and a little more about the APA Institute in the other link. So I am extremely excited for today's reading. We have a diverse, unbelievable lineup that I'm still finding hard to digest. We're going to start with Carson and Robert Currie, who will be kicking off this event, and they will be followed by Yanyi, and then Aria Aber, and then the poet of the hour, JinJin Xu. So I am going to introduce our very first performers, Carson and Robert Currie, and I'm going to share each of their bios in the chat window. I'm sorry, before I present today's first readers, I forgot to present myself. My name is Meher. I am an Indian woman with black hair. I'm just so flushed with excitement, sorry. I am an Indian woman with black hair. I'm wearing a very 80s striped, multicolored top. I'm in a dark room, and behind me is a lit archway. I guess that's the only way to describe it. And I'm going to introduce our first performers for the evening, Carson and Robert Currie. Anne and Currie have requested that if you're comfortable, if you turn on your video cameras for their performance, they're going to lead us in this beautiful performance that would be, I think, best encapsulated if all of us had our cameras on. So here's their bios. RC is an artist and working in Iceland. AC was born in Canada and works often with RC. Take it away, Anne and Currie.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
And JinJin. In honor of JinJin, we're going to do 2 pieces that she approves of.
Excerpts.
First one is from a lecture I made a while ago called Lecture on the History of Skywriting, in which I impersonate the sky and talk about my history as a writer. And it includes in it a portion where the sky decides to phone some people and do interviews. So first the sky phones all the pebbles and small rocks in the world. That's not what we're doing. And then he phones another person who is that gentleman everyone was waiting for in the latter part of the 20th century. So this is a transcription of the phone interview that the sky has with that gentleman. First things first, do I call you Godot or Godot?
Why not use my first name?
Okay, what's that?
Rusty.
So tell me, Rusty, how did it all get started, the non-arriving?
Oh, it started in the thinness.
What sort of thinness?
Thinness, like that plate you climb back up over from behind when waking from a very flat dream.
Any narrative trajectory?
Keep moving at all times. Avoid touching the hole at the center of the thinness.
What's the hole for?
Discourage snooping.
Father?
Cows.
How many cows?
Oh, 5, 6.
Did you help with the cows?
Yep. Every day down to the river we went.
What were those days like?
Long.
What did you do?
Talk to them.
Talk to the cows.
No, mostly the plants. I studied all the plants, tasted all the plants, talked to all the plants, and introduced them to one another.
Why talk to the plants, not to the cows?
Plants know how to listen. Cows don't. Cows are crazy, especially ours. Ours never got enough to eat. People think cows are fat and peaceful, but those are government cows. The government buses those cows in wherever they have a photo op. Those are the cows that show up on TV, living the good life. But ours were scrawny, they were terrible, ran all over the place.
But still, those cow herding days must have been good training for you for the non-arriving.
I guess.
Seems to me that although waiting is hard, never arriving is hard too, and has just about as much waiting in it.
Well, I got a talent for it.
Me too, actually. Being the sky involves a fair amount of just hanging.
Oh, it's very different.
Different how?
Well, one thing, I have to keep out of sight. But then also, this is a factor very few people appreciate about my work. Non-arriving isn't one big simple thing. It's different every time, every case unique. It's tricky, layered psychological work. Analogies like web and maze come to mind. A long, painful, undirected intimacy between strangers with no common goal. Ideally, I make slow appeal to feelings unexpressed and end by drawing tears from a stone.
Sounds like the secret police.
Piss load of research gone into this.
But here's a question I've been curious about for years, Rusty.
Let's have it.
Why do you never arrive? I know it's your job, your assignment, your role in the play, but tell me the truth. Isn't there something deeper going on?
Like what?
Like bearing witness to the atrocities of our time.
Nope.
Really?
Never give a fart for atrocities.
You're not calling history to account or using silence to speak louder than words or put us all in the rear view mirror of our mean and ending world?
Nope.
And we should draw no apocalyptic conclusions whatsoever from your steely reticence?
You know what? Every October I rake apocalyptic conclusions into a pile in the backyard and I burn them.
Do you?
But I suspect we've lost track of your original question.
Which was, why don't you arrive?
Why don't I arrive?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you an answer, but you won't like it. You'll say we can't end there.
Shoot.
Who told me this was my Uncle Roy? I liked Uncle Roy, a little short man full of fantastic alibis. He worked for the State Department for a long time, then made a fortune inventing the "You Are Here" maps for public places. You know, the big map they have in parks and metro stops. And the thing about the "You Are Here" map is, by the time it's been up a year and a half, the U is entirely rubbed off.
No kidding.
So says Uncle Roy.
They rub it right off.
Because everybody wants to touch the U when they're lost.
Oh,
Has to be painted back on.
I suppose it would.
That's one guy's entire job all day, to go around repainting second-person pronouns on "you are here" maps.
What about the red dot?
Fact is, the red dot never disappears. It's only just the "you."
Haunting.
Different paint.
Oh,
So let me ask you a question now.
okay.
How do you think our interview went?
Our interview.
Yeah, you're the expert. I'm just an amateur. And I like to know how people do things, go about their craft.
Well, to be honest, Rusty, I was a little disappointed in my own performance, in the sense that whenever I listen to interviews on the radio, they get in at least once and usually several times the question, how did that make you feel? But with you, I couldn't find any place to work it in.
Tell you what, I'll ask you that question.
Just out of the blue?
No, I'll give you a context. Here, let's say it's dusk in America. You're not the sky anymore. You're some traveling salesman driving along the freeway. And you pass one of those suburban, what do you call it, housing developments. A lot of little houses, all the same. And a big billboard that says, if you lived here, you'd already be home. How does that make you feel?
Wow, Rusty, what a great question. I have to think about that one.
Take your time.
Well, it makes me sad then happy, happy then sad. And here I'll quote Proust, who was, with that weird, devious moral power of his, so able to capture in words perfectly this quintessential experience of all the creeping creatures that creep upon the earth. Quote, and so it was from the Garamond way that I learned to distinguish those states of mind that follow one another in me during certain periods, and that even go so far as to divide up each day among them, one returning to drive away the other with the punctuality of a fever, contiguous, but so exterior to one another, so lacking in means of communication among them, that I can no longer even picture to myself in the one what I desired or feared or accomplished in the other. That was Swan's Way, translated by Lydia Davis.
I like it.
Me too. So now the sky can close his notes. Like every author, when I come to the end of a piece of writing, it is quite clear to me that I will never write again. The upper air, the middle air, the lower air is blank. Blankness plunges out of it. Blankness plunges out of it and goes elsewhere. And I suppose it will arrive. The end. Of that.
Of that. Okay, so JinJin requested this, I think. So Ann and I had this, a couple of years ago, we came up with this idea that we were going to travel the world and do square dances everywhere with whoever we ran into. And it was a great idea, but of course this happened, the coronavirus. So instead, we're going to ask, and a few people are in from our sort of class thing. They'll know what we're talking about. So what we're going to ask you all to do is to dance with your computer. So it's really short. And anybody who has a laptop or they're doing it on their phone, what we'd like you to do is start off by standing, holding your computer facing you.
Demonstrate by standing.
I'm not going to stand. Okay, and then there are going to be just a few little prompts, and Ann's going to be reading a text. So if you're all ready, and people that have desktop computers, just do something. Just move around something. Okay, standing, holding computer
Square dance
facing
has
you.
its roots in traditional English, Irish, and Scottish folk dance.
Bow and greet yourself.
Square dances were first documented in 17th century England.
Face
They
the
came to
computer
North America with the
180
European
degrees
settlers
away from you.
to be modified
greet whatever is in
improved
front of
over
you.
the years. Square dancing is mainly associated with a romanticized
Circle
image
right.
of the Old West. and cowboys wooing southern belles during dances organized at saloons to
Walk
celebrate
backwards 3
various
steps.
categories. The dance is accompanied by jolly lively music on guitars, fiddles,
Walk
accordions,
sideways while
and
slowly
bagpipes.
turning computer 360 degrees.
When the dances normally form patterns of lines, circles, and as the name suggests, squares.
Turn
with
computer
couples,
90 degrees to the
male,
left.
female, male, or male, male, taking
Move
a turn
computer
in
to
every
the right.
role. In most American forms of square dance, the dancers
Computer
are
facing
prompted
forward.
through the square dance choreography
Sashay.
to the heat of the music. While the majority
Place
of square
computer down
dances
facing you.
danced all around the world demand participation
Greet
of
the computer.
exactly 4 pairs of dancers arranged in square
Then
positions.
circle left.
There also exists a wide variety of square dance variations
Pick
that
up
allow
computer
for
and spin
inclusions of other
360
dancers
degrees.
and dance routines. For example, square dance can be danced with additional
Return
person in the
the
middle
computer
of the
to
square,
the desk.
known as 9 pins variation.
In original
One extra
position.
dance couple in the middle, winter solstice, additional couples in head position,
The end.
headtation, additional lady on each side of the square, 12 reel. The
Thank you. The end. Congratulations, JinJin.
end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anne and Currie, joining us from Iceland, where it's quite late at this time. Thank you for that reading and for just giving us that spatial awareness. It feels nice just to.
And hello to all our friends that we see here tonight that we never see. Hello, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that performance. I'm very excited to present our next reader to you tonight. I'm sharing his bio in the chat. Yanyi is a writer and critic. He is the author of Dream of the Divided Field, One World, Random House, forthcoming 2022, and The Year of Blue Water, Yale University Press 2019, winner of the 2018 Yale Series of Younger Poets Prize, finalist for the 2020 Lambda Literary Award in Transgender Poetry, and named one of 2019's best poetry books by New York Public Library. His work has been featured in NPR's All Things Considered, Tin House, Granta, and A Public Space, and he is the recipient of fellowships from Asian American Writers Workshop and Poets House. Currently, he is poetry reader at Foundry and giving creative advice at The Reading. Find out more at yinyi.com. Yanyi, take it away.
Thanks for reading my extremely long bio, Meher. So, hi everyone. First of all, congratulations to JinJin and Ai Shu Shu Hao, as everyone in the chats has been saying. I feel like you have to kind of acknowledge the parents when they're in the room. And so I'm an Asian American man. I'm wearing a black sweater. I have black hair and I have black thin rimmed glasses that are very handsome on me. I'm sitting in front of 2 bookcases, one that it's half as high as the other one. There's like a nice green vase behind me and a little camera behind me and an antler. And then I have a trusty music stand with a 1913 dictionary on it. So today is Transgender Day of Remembrance, and I just felt like it would be really strange if I didn't mention that. The name, it's kind of obvious what it today is in the name, but I thought I would take a moment of silence for the 37 trans people who have died this year, who have been murdered or killed, most of whom are Black or Latinx. And those are just the people who we know. So I hope you all join me in a moment of silence, and then I'll start my reading. So thanks. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so again, congratulations, JinJin. And I'm going to be reading from my first book, The Year of Blue Water, and some poems that I've been writing kind of along the way to my second one. And I kind of picked the theme of love and resurrection to kind of circulate around the themes of JinJin's chapbook. So I'll just get started. Even though I didn't know M very well, I am also grieving. I don't feel like I'm allowed to grieve for someone I didn't know well, because we're asked to choose who we invest in. We're asked to choose who is worthy of love. M lived in my community. I saw her every so often at parties, dinners, movies. I love my community, and therefore I love her. So of course I am grieving. It is justified to love another human being for no reason. My friends know how she lived, and they will live instead. When she was alive, she lived with my friends. Together they made all kinds of life, and now she lives in their lives and can live with me. Ghost. On the other side, I heard knocking, but no hand would emerge from that. Come to think of it, all along, another story was pounding. Away you walked without the sound of your footsteps. Dream diary. You're awake, then you are standing. Then the last thing that you dreamed will unfold its field of memory. What you touch will come to life. A whole room sprung in the backwards words of people untalking to you. Walking reverse with such confidence until you reach another room. There stands this person who is also a talisman. In the dream, it doesn't matter when they loved you. In the dream, when you talk, the butterflies are orange and then blue, and together you lead the rabble to the square where you touch this person and then leave them. And on cue, a flock of pigeons will soon want nothing but to return to you. And on cue, the cedars become green and then stone, this person unmaking love from you and placing the pieces elsewhere, again, on earth. Until before that, until the somewhere else before you agree to move. Then your language, too. Backwards words unstuck to the dream as the dream began to happen. And the ghosts inside the many rooms rustle nude inside the blue water. And the ghosts inside the many rooms illuminate the many walls. I've been writing to women, women of color, queers, gentle queers, spectra, crystals, animals. I want fame with you. I don't want to be famous. Let's redo what it means to be famous. I'm famous because I am in search like you. I have been writing for you. I've been writing for myself. I too want to be familiar. What else could famous mean? Listening to Teresa Tung in a poem that is not yet good. I am not yet good in the home my parents made to survive a little more familiarly. My parents don't know what they want. I know what they want, and I know I won't give it to them. Inheritance, or what to do with knowledge. It calls me. I have to sing it out. I thought love was a trapdoor out of loneliness. Hint, it super isn't. Hint, if you believe in something more than you believe in yourself, things start to get fuzzy in how much you can hear yourself, what you need, know, what you want. During my tarot reading, Leah draws a card called Reception, The card shows a naked, gender-ambiguous person resting in a blue sea puddled in a larger hand. Reception is what I think of when I wake up today at 5 a.m., realizing that the string of innocuous dreams I had were actually nightmares. I know because I'm exhausted. In one dream, I walked quickly through a museum trying to find something, but it closed before I got to it. In another dream, I had to roast a chicken for a competition. It was perfect, and I got a lot of compliments, and I felt nothing about it. In the dream with the museum, I tried to go again the next day. You were there with me, but you were too far ahead of me, propelled by something I wasn't a part of. Then, what is so unnatural to me, to believe that what I can't control will be kind to me. When you walk away from me, I hear you saying that you will always be with me. When I wake up, I hear you telling me it's okay. Things eventually happen. It's not always true that when someone disappears, they never come back, even if that has been my experience. The cliff. The dream is long and I have already forgotten. We look to sit near the water, but the water rushes over the seats. Dream you sneers at me, saying, "Why would anyone want to be with someone who couldn't say enough of the right things?" Of course, there is no such thing as enough. Of course, there is no water. There was a word that if I say enough in the right tones and sounds will be sufficient for this to quiet down. Dream me trying to pull together the perfect words. Waking me says this too. I miss you. I love you more than anything. And I have to live with my love. It is almost more painful than pain itself. So much paper. Leaving the house. When I say I'm in love with you, that means I'm not alone inside of it. Together we talk to people we love separately in one voice. When my voice fills in love with you, when I sing on the outside. So I'm gonna read two more. So one from my book and then another one from my second manuscript. Last night, I had a dream about giving a speech on art. I had no notes and felt awash with calm. Why is art necessary? The first line ran, and nothing was easier to answer because it was so unanswerable. It occurs to me that an answer would have ended my speech, and what I wanted was to ask something repeatedly, to spend my life on continuing the question. Life and not answer that is worthy of being repeated. Invitation, invocation, request. Once. I admit it, that we were alive at once, the same time, that we were connected to each other. And two minds move me as this life becomes a story. We were alive, we were free, choosing the hour within a moment's bright precision. There is still that hour without a future or a face. I am the hour. I am the place. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yanyi. That was absolutely beautiful. I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna go to bed thinking of the line, "I too want to be familiar," for quite some time. Thank you, that was absolutely beautiful. Before I introduce our next performer, I'd like to pass the mic to my coworker, Sarah, who's gonna present the cover of JinJin's book. You've all seen it digitally, but Sarah will present it handheld and talk about the printing process that went behind the manifestation of JinJin's chapbook as a physical handheld book. I'm gonna pass the mic to Sarah.
Thanks, Maher. And hi, everyone. I'm Sarah, and I'm one of the worker owners at Radix Media. I am a Black Latinx woman with really short hair. I have a white top with a black long sleeve thing on top. And I'm in a room with some plants and some jackets hanging up on the wall. So here is JinJin's chapbook with this beautiful cover. It's silver ink on cobalt blue paper, letterpress printed, and then the interior is all digital. It's like a traditional chapbook, but I don't know, the way JinJin laid it out feels very interactive. Like the spread here is pretty cool, as well as this one here. And we also like to add some end sheets to our chapbooks. It's like a translucent paper. Yeah, that's about it. You can pre-order it, or no, you can order it on our site.
Thank you so much, Sarah. If you haven't had a chance to order the book, I'm sharing the link in the chat window. It has blurbs from Terrence Hayes, Aria Aber, Sally Wen Mao, Matthew Rohr, Yanyi, and you can get a copy soon. It will be shipped out on Monday. I would also like to add that shipping is currently free within the United States. So if you're ordering anywhere here, you don't have to pay for shipping, just the price of the book, and you'll have it at your home. As you know, it is the chapbook has been printed in 250 limited edition. So you will be a prized, I don't want to use the word owner, like prized keeper. I think keeper is a more generous, positive word. Prized keeper of a copy of JinJin Xu's very special debut chapbook. International shipping is also possible. I would just ask you to email me. I'm sharing my email address in the chat. Just email me and we'll figure out a way to manifest that. We want to make sure that everybody who wants a copy gets a copy. So we'll make sure to make that possible. I'm very excited to introduce our next reader for today, Aria Aber. I want to add a little note before I introduce Aria's bio. Aria's book, Heart Damage, which was published by University of Nebraska Press in 2019, was my favorite poetry book of 2019. I have read it multiple times over. I interviewed Aria for Atticus Review, and as a Indian poet in America who's been here for the last 4 years, I was particularly moved by the narratives around family and the relationships between, women across generations. So when we thought of introducing the Own Voices Chapbook Prize, the thing we were very sure about is that we wanted a guest poet to come in and serve as the guest judge. And I could not think beyond Aria at the time of, when we were still in the, the team, chit chat process, trying to figure out what this competition is look like. I was like, we have to get Aria. I'm going to try to convince her, and then if she doesn't agree, then we'll see, then we'll figure out anybody else. So I was very incredibly glad and also honored that Aria agreed to come on board and was such a generous reader with the finalists, was such a generous reader of the manuscripts. So I'm incredibly proud to present Aria Aber as our next reader. I'm sharing Aria's bio in the chat. Aria Aber was raised in Germany, where she was born to Afghan refugees. She's the author of Heart Damage, University of Nebraska Press 2019, which won the Prairie Schooner Book Prize and a Whiting Award. Her work has appeared in The New Yorker, The New Republic, Poetry, and elsewhere. She's currently a Stegner Fellow in Poetry at Stanford University. Aria, take it away.
Hi, thank you, Meher, for that introduction, and congratulations, JinJin, on your wonderful, wonderful chapbook. I can't wait to hold it in my hands one day soon, hopefully. And yeah, I'm going to describe myself. I'm an Afghan woman. I have a high ponytail with a white scrunchie on and a polka dotted dress, and the room behind me is dark, but you can see the outline of my indoor palm tree and I think my couch. I'll be reading a couple of poems from my book, Heart Damage, and I think in the vein of Yanyi, I'm also gonna think about resurrection, the dead, and grief. Afghan funeral in Paris. The aunts here clink Malbec glasses and parade their grief with musky, expensive scents that whisper in elevators and hallways. Each natural passing articulates the unnatural. Every aunt has a son who fell or a daughter who hid in rubble for 2 years, until that knock of officers holding a bin bag filled with a dress and bones. But what do I know? I get pedicures and eat madeleines while reading Swan's Way. When I tell one aunt I'd like to go back, she screams, "It is not yours to want." Have some cream cheese with that, says another. Oh, what wonder to be alive and see my father's footprints in his sister's garden. He's furiously scissoring the hyacinths, saying all the time when the tele-researcher asks him, "How often do you think your life is a mistake?" During the procession, the aunt's wails vibrate, wires full of crows in heavy wind. I hate every plumed minute of it. God invented everything out of nothing, but the nothing shines through, said Paul Valéry. Paris never charmed me, but when some stranger asks if it stinks in Afghanistan, I am so shocked that I hug him, and he lets me, his ankles briefly brushing against mine. And yeah, the next poem is called There. There. I'm too cowardly to hopscotch or riot against my militarized homesickness. But how could you be homesick, you wonder, denying all cahoots? I vomit buckets full of gravel, comb through Ziploc bags of photographs. Relatives uprooted, never returned. What's left of Farad, an afterthought, a cut shirt. Faisal, we don't speak of. Not yours to elegize, you instruct. But I scroll headline after headline until the French door is shards and the skin of my knuckles unlatches, blood wet and surprised. Like poppies after long, misbegotten rain. After the Ars fluorescent walk of shame, you drive me through McDonald's to get delicious, soggy fries, which I guzzle, then weep into the grease off. I, who was cultivated among speedometers and irrigation and tact, who sat with scan numbers at public libraries and private schools, who broke bike helmets and was balanced on my father's feet like an airplane. Love, do I have the right to talk of there at all? You pet my shoulder, say, it's not your come from, tuck a curl behind my ear and whisper, aren't you, after all, from here? I'll read one more poem from Heart Damage, which I wrote mostly at NYU. And it's so beautiful to see former students, former teachers, and classmates here. I really had a great time there, so it's nice to see you all, even if it's through the screen. The next poem is set in Wisconsin, where I spent a year in the worst winter of my life. Reading Rilke at Lake Mendota, Wisconsin. I have relinquished my shame now that I have mastered what wasn't lent to my name. 3 languages, one of them dead. It is hard to misbeloved all that isn't as absurd as my forked childhood. First of the menses, Padar's stethoscope, to have hours upon hours to marvel at words like driftwood, trope, misbeloved. To miss my life in Kabul is to tongue pears laced with needles. I had no life in Kabul. How then can I trust my mind's long corridor, its longing for before? I have a faint depression polluting my heart, sings the lake. That there's music in everything if you tune into it devastates me. Even trauma sounds like Traum, the German word for dream. Even in the dirty atrium, Lou was waiting tenderly for Rilke. René, he signed his letters, the apostrophe full of love. Oh, and love I was always and providential, but what I want is not of love. It's meatless mojo and lime. I don't want to open, neither for food nor men. Loneliness, I keep a stone to kiss. At night, the entirety of me arches not toward the black square of absence, but toward you. Okay, I'll read one more poem, and that's the last one. It's a little bit longer. Again, congratulations, JinJin, and thank you for inviting me to read here. An essay on loss. The hour after the loss delivered me iridescence, a double-crested cormorant probing the glass lake, a dialect architecting the essence of what I lacked. I thought how and why. I thought if only the eye wasn't the harbinger of forgiveness. But I did not want to forgive what had been taken, even if it went voluntarily. So I accused the lake, the New Zealand tea trees configuring the landscape into a callous grid. I accused each of our gods. Then I accused the grid of the soul. The eye's petite pole surveyed the city for possible life, finding solace in a strand of rope tied around blue wildflowers and carnations. At the center of it all, there was a plot of earth with more earth on it, some stones. A phone call in the pixelated room of my mind, the room scraped clean as a jade. I thought methodology. I thought, no, not again. Feathers dropped from the sky, then a slow rain, the steam of the day clinging to the backs of my knees. What would I have traded for your touch? When it rained entirely, and the rain revised our world. I had to tell myself this. Our world, rain, a sign. It is through signs that we absolve the primeval music of loss. Even if the signs deceive, even if the music whips me into pulp. Now morning after morning, there is that cormorant in my bed, a pool of wet black feathers and his ugly feet. I take him out to the bathtub and rinse his dark flicker, black as ink, black as paint on a door frame years ago. I release him to you, and yet he returns. It is as if I birth him every morning in you. Nobody believes this except for the others who are also visited by him. The stench of him everywhere we go. So adjusted I am to the lake brine on my clothes, I am hardly embarrassed anymore. I know how this must go, that eventually I have to walk through the shape of your loss like a door to the world without the secret knowledge of birds. But I discard the future. I refuse its awing light and profligate fanfare. Instead, I articulate stories of before. The sweetness of that verve. There was a night we slept on a hill after picking green fruit. The road we walked was a perpendicular road, the night etched with stars like salt. We ate the sour fruit and became the fruit. We shrank and fell with our backs onto the soft, cold earth. When you looked at me, I understood that the soul was small as a grape, naked and translucent and without shame. What do I recall of that night? You were alive. We were cormorants moving on the surface of each other's eyes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aria, for that performance, for being such an incredible guest judge, for being such a generous reader of the manuscripts that we received, and for reading some really great poems tonight, and possibly my favorite poem also, from Hard Damage. I really appreciate that. I know it's not for me, but I'm going to make it about me for a second. And I'm very excited now to present our Poet of the Hour, JinJin Xu. I want to talk a little bit about how JinJin Xu's manuscript that became a chapbook came to be. I was an early reader of the manuscripts that we received for the Own Voices Chapbook Prize. And I remember reading They're Still Singing in the Afterlife and thinking, thank goodness, this is why we have this prize. I mean, let's be real, when it comes down to independent publishing, sort of book prizes feel a little exclusionary, and they feel a little, I don't know, they make us all feel some kind of way, right? Like we're competing for like a small piece of the pie. And so it's an unfortunate thing to sort of be a part of in like the larger sense, but it also became a way to attract writers to our still young emerging press. And so in many ways, all the writers who have chosen to be a part of Radix Media elevate Radix Media's vision and our sort of editorial plan for the future. In many ways, JinJin Xu's book is what makes Radix Media's editorial dream possible, and not the other way around. And I remember reading the book, and I thought, yeah, this is a Sure Shot finalist, right? This is it. This is a Sure Shot finalist. I was amazed by how inventive Xu was with form, how inventive Xu was with language, and how she weaved in both English and Chinese in such effortless manner, as if they were in conversation with each other, as if they'd been in conversation with each other all the time. And I am so excited to be able to be a part of the journey of They're Still Singing in the Afterlife. I'm thrilled personally that I get to play a small, minuscule role in its manifestation. As a member of Radix Media, I'm incredibly proud that we get to present JinJin Xu's book as our debut manuscript of the Own Voices Prize. So this is our Poet of the Hour, JinJin Xu. I'm gonna read her bio and share it in the chat. JinJin Xu is the 2020 winner of the Poetry Society of America's George Bogan Memorial Award. She has received honors from Southern Humanities Review, Tupelo Press, and the Thomas J. Watson Foundation. Her films have exhibited at Berlin's Harun Farocki Institute and NYC's The Immigrant Artist Biennale. Born and raised in Shanghai, she received her BA from Amherst College and is currently an MFA candidate at New York University, where she received the Lillian Vernon Fellowship and teaches hybrid ballet and poetry workshops. Find more of her work at jinjinxu.com.
Thank you, Meher. I'm just so floored to see all of you here. I feel like at a loss for language. So many people from all parts of my life in one room together. And the other day said I was a limp ball rolling around the world collecting people, and I feel very seen by that, in that like I feel so blessed to be able to have just light from everywhere join me to celebrate. I really could not have written these poems or believed I could write anything without the presence of all of you in my life, whether I've met you physically or virtually. So yeah, I am a Chinese woman, and with freshly cut bangs inspired by Sailor Moon. And these are bamboo blinds behind me, and I'm joined by my parents, Papa, Mommy.
Hi.
Hello. And I'm at home in my mother's hometown, known for this ancient hot spring and some communist guerrilla hide spots. And don't do this, but I haven't gotten my book in the mail because of international shipping. So I did pirate my own book on Taobao, but please don't do that. I am really excited to finally hold the beautiful work by Meher and Sarah. And I just couldn't have asked for a better team to work with. And thank you, honestly, everyone who's here with me. So I'll begin with a poem written with my parents in mind. It's an opening poem to the chapbook because there they are. Everything I do is because of my parents. 所以谢谢你们. There they are, my mother, my father, her skinny blue wrists, his ear caressing a cigarette. In the beginning, it is already too late, but there is hunger and no time to waste. All they need are 6 hands, 3 mouths, a clockwork yearning for locks of their own, windows square and fresh. In the beginning, my cry breaks my father, who flushes red at my fall, opens my face in search of his mother. Grasses on a country road, hawthorn up to their waists aflame, the crying of no mothers. Temple bells hung by the wind. An October without moons, a feeling I've been here before. Dew on the page, windows billowing wax paper, fall's charred eyelids, toes pressing down my own wet imprint. Begin the world without a bang. Water, air, the earth split into an egg, elements halved for light. No mothers, just 2 figures on a bicycle for one, a sweaty country road, stoves that won't start, boxes of damp matchsticks, strain of a blue wrist untucking cigarettes from his lips, prayer of hands inside the ashes of mothers, single finger curving to a hush. Careful, hold the glass up to one eye, split the nucleus with the other, explosions muted by winged lungs. Put down my pen, unfold my eyes, count backwards before legs, before longing, until I hit a snag in the web, open to find my palm full of tears. Once there were no mothers. Trace the outline, 1, 2, build a family from hunger. Listen, a cry, mine, dragging her mother's last breath up the jagged washboard as he soaks my throat clean, baptizing his mother's blackened lungs. My mouth opens to wake their beginning, and just like that, blesses our downfall. There, stretch the canvas, spread oil thin into our crevices. What's that in the distance? No mother, not the moon, just 6 hands bent over a clock face with no opening. Porcelain spoons raised to another's lips. Tap, tap, we widen our insides until ink forks our edges. In the beginning, an October without night. Windows torn open with flashlights. Hawthorn dawning a mother's last breath. Let me begin again. Thank you. And there are 2 poems in this chapbook called To Red Dust. These are, I don't really know what these poems want to do yet, but I can't stop writing about this place that I have no language for. So this is a place, this is the one that Sarah showed earlier. There's Chinese text running down the side. So I'll just read the first Chinese text. And they're inspired by Dreams of the Red Chamber, which is this Chinese classical epic I find infinitely inspirational. To Red Dust. 红楼梦第一回，原来是五彩补天唤醒人世，被那茫茫大士渺渺真人携入红尘，引灯彼岸的一块顽石。As in Dream of the Red Chamber, Qing Dynasty, when the goddess mended the hole in the sky, she left a single stone untouched. Through red dust, the monk leads the stone onto land into the form of a human. Now I'll begin with the main text. Mogal Grottos, 1994. 2 figures drawn in red dust, a woman and a man side by side, half submerged in the 888th cave carved with Buddhas, once adorned with prayer, adored by defaced gods. Through my flashlight, they widen. One of me, two of them, 800 eyes watching as they carve their names to stone, stroke by stroke, claiming this life of theirs, of ours. My mother, my father, drawing the outlines of their bodies separate, together, into stone. The singing desert air, fingertips swirl the silken mud, presses a red thumb to my forehead, opens my mouth to Hong Kong 2019. A shriek, tear gas, Molotov cocktails flying through the risen sidewalk, chants falling through our bodies like glass. As if words will save us from demise, we step into the steaming streets, snap off our masks, and are blinded. I cannot see my hands dipping the ladle in oil, lifting it high above our heads to pour gently, gently, like a mother bathing her newborn, as if our bodies are made for nothing holier. Oil trickling down our foreheads, cheeks, necks. We dab the crease of our eyes dry. Flicker of blue light. We set our bodies into flight. Shanghai 2005. A red dust, father says, wiping away perspiration on the car window. Your eyes will pierce through these earthly worries. There is no past, no future. Telephone poles flash past us like limbs outstretched in barren rice fields. I look at my father. My spine loosens its anchor. What about me? As if I am not of my father's body, I write my name into my exhale. Please, a swipe of his palm. Do not leave us in the red dust. Red dust, as in Tang Dynasty's northwest capital, the earth was yellow. The dust raised by people and chariots turned red under the setting sun. Red dust, as in of this earthly life. Red dust, as in a woman cloaked in red dust, meaning her body is of experience. Censored 2018. If you are alive, know that I am writing to hold on, though writing is a very crime you are charged for. Do you have a window? Water? Any question I ask is inadequate. My father says to forget you, to leave it all in red dust, but they are lashing your flesh, your eyes, and I am still alive. Hold on, I beg, as if I know what this earth is made of, falling to dust between my fingers, as if I know why we cling to this life amidst the 800 watchful eyes, and I am still alive, and I am still Shanghai, censored. Alive, two figures drawn in red dust. One turns to me, holds a finger to my lips. Shh, do not speak of such things. The other shuts my eyes as the screen flashes the students, aflame, monks aflame, crushed into static, as if their lives never existed, as if all bodies returned to dust. Flip the channel. We are on the mountain of eternity. My mother and my father eating fresh peaches, red snappers suckling our toes. I shall not speak of such things. I shall not see and I shall not speak. Censored, censored. And another alights on the sidewalk, another alights. I step around their outlines into our next life. Om Mani Padme Hum. You emerge from the red dawn to shake open my life. Upside down, flying dust. You unlock the red cell. Cameras light up one by one like lanterns. You dig your nails into this life. Half moons of dirt, rings around your lips. Om Mani Padme Hum. I am speaking in tongues. I'm spitting out my lungs. I want to howl your name across the headlines. Carry your body over the threshold of holy until words are just words and sight is just sight. Nothing worth dying for. Thank you. And lastly, I want to read a poem for my dear friend April and her family. She is here to join us today. And these are the poems I spent, I guess, the 2 years in my MFA trying to figure out how to write. They're written to her brother who passed away when I was a senior in my undergrad. And the most I met April after he passed away, and the friendship I have with her it just nourishes me every day, and it's really a source of light in my life. So there are 2 poems written for April called To Her Brother Who Is Without Name, and the second one is To Your Brother Who Is Without Name, and I'll read that one. To your brother who is without name. It is snowing. I wake to find your brother out the window, meditating. Apricot t-shirt dusted with white, eyes closed in the blue light. In my sleep, I had forgotten. Memory alone slips. April. Remember that film we watched? 姐妹 sisters sworn to this life. Pair of jade bangles separated, slid up the other's wrist. Remember how we shielded our faces with a too small pillow as the sister on screen sharpens her knife. She sharpens her knife to save her sister, which is to say to betray herself. Between us, there was once betrayal, but April, you already know this. I have lost your brother to a name. Those last weeks, April, I lost him to a land without sleep, days without rest, his dreams wrestling the pale daybreak. In the land of eternal wake, I call, his name sinews into threads. Ashes, ashes, our birth country allows no return for the dead. Except there, he is still alive, called into the living by relatives who still think him growing, still call him by name. In the kingdom of eternal spring, peach blossoms, whiskered gods swooping down the backs of cranes, I hear his whisper in the clouds, pressing his ear to a murmur of names. It was snowing, April, the day I left your brother waiting. I am afraid of this memory. Left alone, it slips. Every word I say becomes truth. Please take my words as they are, pinpricks of light. From the surface of your face, April, emerges his outline. I look away, desperate for you to believe me, to know my story as true. Instead, I crouch to shift him from my back. I let him down. That sweltering food stamp summer, him swinging containers packed by your parents, stopping by a man on the sidewalk asking, "Do you like chicken?" Containers stacked on the pavement, signs everywhere. Dusty apricot shirt, howls tearing the winds. April, words are slipping. I wrap my palm around their throats, step back over the threshold. Hold. A sister without a brother is still a sister, is always a sister. Half rhyme, reaching. Remember me telling you beneath the train tracks, I am writing about us. I mean, about him. Sirens swallow your voice. Do not, red pools, his name. He has not slept, your brother. Lotus pose in the snow. His outline blurs, blue with wanting. Waiting, eyes closed for me to wake. It is no longer snowing. No, I am awake. I am outside, palms outstretched to greet him. In this story is a promise of a brother without a name, word that keeps him living, magic word beyond grief, memory's slippery net. In this story, my story, April, it was never snowing. Thank you, everyone.
If you'd like to unmute yourself for a round of applause for JinJin.
Yes.
Thank you so much, JinJin, for sharing your work. we at Radix Media are so proud to be able to present your work, to be able to bring it to life. You are such an incredible, talented poet. As a fellow poet, as a person who's been with you through this process, I'm so excited to see where your poetic journey will take you. Hello to your parents. I want to thank them for joining us today. I want to open up the space for anybody who'd like to say a word about JinJin or would like to say a word about the manuscript if you had a chance to read it. Anybody who's ordered, the books will be shipped on Monday, so you should have it by next week. These beautiful books with letterpress covers would be with you soon. And yeah, I'm going to open the space up for any friends of JinJin who'd like to share a word, who'd like to say a few words. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Meher, and everyone at Radix.